Hello everyone, welcome to our Land Monitor presentation. My name is Katie Spengler. I am the Land Stewardship Director here at Brewster Conservation Trust and also in charge of our land monitoring program. So this orientation will give you a bit of background about what monitoring is and how to become a monitor with BCT. So what is a land monitor? Our land monitors ensure that the conservation status of BCT properties is maintained. We have helped conserve over 1,600 acres throughout Brewster, and we can split those up into two kinds of properties. So our fee simple properties are ones that the trust outright owns. They are considered private property. We also have conservation restrictions, or CRs, which mean that we own a legal layer of conservation protection on either town properties or also private properties. So overall, combining all those fee simple and conservation restricted properties, we have to monitor over 200 properties, hence why our land monitors are so important. Land monitor responsibilities. So as a land monitor, you're going to visit your property at least one time a year. On that one time, please walk the boundaries and the interior of your property. Walking boundaries is very, very important when it comes to observing encroachments and making sure we approach them in a timely manner. If you're feeling ambitious, feel free to do some drive-bys. Feel free to do a couple light monitoring visits throughout the year of the property, cleaning up roadside debris, that kind of a thing. When you're out there, observe the conditions of the land, and we'll go into detail later of how to fill out a monitoring report to report these kinds of things. If you see any small-scale litter, please pick that up, especially along the roadsides. Things like cans, cigarettes, that kind of a thing. Also ensure any signage and benches on the property are in good condition. Make sure they're not rotting or faded or things like that. If they are, please make a note. Not all of our properties have signage. The only properties that we put those big green signs up on are properties that are donated or if they're on major roadways. So if you go out and you're like, this parcel doesn't have a BCT sign, I'm not sure if I'm in the right spot, you probably are. Other properties have little metal placards on trees. If those are faded, make a note of that too. If you recommend we put more up, please make a note of that. And of course, report any issues and concerns to me and record everything on that report form that we're going to go over in a little bit. Now I'm going to go into a little bit of more detail about how to navigate property boundaries as accurately as possible. Almost all of our land monitors, this is their biggest issue when out in the field, is finding those boundaries on the ground. But we use tools like maps, landmarks on the ground, and also digital tools to really help us find those boundaries when we're in the field and walk them effectively. So you will be receiving a property monitoring folder when you go out into the field, and that folder will have maps inside to help you navigate your property. I recommend looking at those maps before you go out into the field. Any landmarks that are present on those maps and where the best place to park is. Most of these properties will have a survey plan. Some of them have a bounding sketch. And there's also maps like Locust Maps that'll show you where in Brewster your property is. Google Earth view of your property. I am working on updating those maps so that there's at least 2 maps in each property folder. Bounding sketches, right here, this is an example of one. These are made in-house by BCT. Those are useful because we went out already and we looked at the latitude, longitude points for each curve in your property boundary. So that's useful when you're out in the field if you have a GPS, or your phone can also tell you the latitude and longitude. It'll also give information if there are bounds on the site. It will give building addresses, if there's a wetland on your property, that kind of a thing. Survey plans, which is shown over here, those are a little different than bounding sketches. This is the actual official plan of the property that's located in the Registry of Deeds. These will show you approximate distances between corners as well as the direction each line goes. These will also show you the official bounds if they're present on your property. So down here, for example, it says CB found. That stands for concrete bound, and we'll go into more of that on the next slide. So while you're out in the field, you're going to be looking for those on-the-ground markers. Not all property corners are going to have markers. Even though your survey plan might say there's a concrete bound at a corner, that doesn't necessarily mean it's still there. A lot of these were installed a long time ago. Sometimes they're buried. Typically, I see concrete bounds about 2 to 4 inches out of the ground, but sometimes they will be buried. Sometimes they'll be displaced. So do your best to look for them, especially the ones that say found next to it. Those are going to be usually pretty easy to find. But shown here in the picture is a concrete bound. It's a square piece of cement that's going to be sticking out of the ground. That's an official boundary marker, so keep an eye out for those. Other abbreviations that you might find on your survey plans include DH or drill holes. Count yourself lucky if you find one of these. I found probably 2 or 3 while I've been out in the field. That's when they drilled a tiny hole in either a stone wall or a boulder or something to mark a boundary. Sometimes people mark them with spray paint. IP, or an iron pipe, that's another marker. So that'll be like a pipe sticking out of the ground. Sometimes I've seen those spray painted. When we mark our boundaries, which we're working to mark better, so the ones we have marked, we will place PVC markers, which is the one shown next to this concrete bound. Those are easily seen through the woods because they're bright white. And then we'll put a little sticker on the side of when that was marked and the latitude and longitude. So keep an eye out for those. Those will be our corners of your property. Also keep an eye out for placards. Placards are used when a property does not have that green sign out front. It's a little square. It will be located on a tree typically. We use those to mark the bounds as well. Keep an eye out for helpful landmarks too that you find on that survey plan. Things like rock walls are easy to follow. Ridges, ditches. Usually these mark property lines, and that will be shown in your survey plan. But like I said, they're not always going to be marked. We're doing our best. If you are out in the field and you're like, I cannot find this property, I cannot find the bounds, please make a note of that in your monitoring report, and we will try and make it a priority to get out there and mark those bounds. A handy digital tool to use is your phone, and this is what I use when I'm out in the field all the time, is the Brewster Assessor's Map. I'll provide a link to it in this PowerPoint that will be shared with you guys. But you can also just navigate to the Brewster Town website and then scroll down and there'll be a GIS box, GIS Maps. When you click on that, you'll get a screen that looks something like this. This map is a great way to follow approximate boundary lines and ensure that you're staying on BCT land and that you're not wandering off onto someone else's property unintentionally. It's also great at finding information on abutting properties. So if you were looking at an encroachment, someone was dumping leaves on BCT land and you're suspecting it's the neighbor, you can always look up that neighbor's properties, find their name and address, and then put that information down on your monitoring report. That's super helpful. You can also find if the property you're standing on is BCT land. Some cons to this map is that you do need cell service to use it. If you know that you're not going to have service at your property, download the map on your phone and then zoom in to where you know you're going to be walking, and that little bubble that's going to follow you will work if you had uploaded that map before you go out to the field. Another con is that this map is not 100% accurate. Sometimes it's like 5 feet off. It can bounce around. Our phones aren't perfect when it comes to GPS, but I found that they're accurate enough to actually follow a boundary line. So now I'm going to walk you guys through how to use this map on your cell phone when you're out in the field. So you're going to, like I said, navigate to the Town and Brewster's GIS map, or if you want to use, you can save this link up here. This will take you right to the map as well. And then you'll have something like this on your phone. And you're going to go ahead and navigate to the bottom of your screen and hit this map info and then follow button. In order to have this, you are going to need to make sure that your privacy settings on your phone are turned on for Safari or whatever internet browser you're using. You'll know if you have your privacy settings turned on that this follow button will not be available. If you don't see this follow button, that means you need to play around with your settings to make sure that your location services are turned on. Once you hit the follow button, this little blue dot will pop up. That's going to be you on the map. This little dot will follow you wherever you go when you have that follow button on. So then what you're going to do is zoom in. So you're going to use your fingers to pinch out and zoom in on that site. And then you'll see all the property lines will appear. So these are the parcel lines, this gray line, and that will be your bound that you're going to be following. It's so helpful. It also shows everyone else's bounds. And a way to pull up the street names and things like that is to navigate to the sidebar here, and you're going to click layers. That will take you to a bunch of really cool layers that you can turn on or off. You can turn on the undeveloped land, section that will show you all the parcels that are undeveloped. Zone 2 you can turn on, see where Zone 2 is at in Brewster. This is really fun to play with. It's cool to see where things are at in your town. But what I like to use is the OpenStreetMap base map down at the bottom here. So you can click this top one, and this will turn on all the street names and buildings and things like that. Some other details that are really helpful. Another useful tool with this map, like I said, is that you can look up property information. Click on this little info button. That will take you to a cursor that if you draw a little box on whatever parcel you're looking at, it will pull up this screen. It will tell you the owner of that parcel, as well as a lot of other helpful information like the address, the year that it was acquired, things like that. This is helpful if you want to highlight the property you're trying to navigate. It will highlight whatever property you're looking at, and you can keep that on so you can navigate those boundaries. It's also helpful, like I said earlier, to look up neighboring properties. So you could click on something like over here and draw a box around it, and you'll find information on that property as well. Super fun tool, like I said. You can look up your neighbors. You can do a lot with this program, and it's all public information. So we've gone over how to navigate those property boundaries. Now we're going to get into what you're actually going to be looking for while you're out in the field. You're going to be looking for two kinds of things. You're going to be looking for human encroachment, and you're going to be looking for natural events that are noteworthy. So first, human encroachments. Keep an eye out for structures on our property. So things like tree stands, sheds, fences, garden beds are a big one lately. Also looking for dumping, and dumping not just like trash or like old appliances and things like that, or litter, but also dumping things like landscaping. So leaves, grass clippings, big branches. Make a note of that. It's illegal to dump on conservation land. And just like I wouldn't dump my leaves on someone else's property, they shouldn't be dumping their leaves on our property. I've had a lot of people approach me asking why, that they can't put their leaves in the woods. And one argument is that it is private property, and that's that. Another educational component is explaining how they're changing the natural ecology of the land. If they're going to be smothering plants, they could be introducing other seeds or introducing invasives. So making sure that we're taking note of where there's heavy dumping going on. I've also seen in the past, unfortunately, excavation. When there's a lot of construction going on next door to our properties, that's something super important to note. Natural events to look for are things like downed trees. If there's downed trees, especially along our property boundaries, those are important to know. If you want to be a good neighbor, clean those up. And also look for other kinds of obvious disease. The turpentine beetle, pine beetle's a big one. Southern pine beetles coming in and decimating our pine trees. So looking out for obvious signs of diseased trees that are spreading. For example, up above here, this is one of the more common diseases that we're trying to record. It's called beech leaf disease. I'm sure you've heard of it. So if you have a beech tree on your property, please make sure to look up at the canopy. Keep an eye out for these dark stripes on the leaves. That means it has the disease. Unfortunately, there's no cure right now, but we're making sure we monitor where it's spreading. And I just want to make a note of this bottom picture here. This is a great example of a shed encroachment. So over here, you can see that this monitor found the concrete bound. That is clearly showing that this shed is mostly on BCT land. So things like that, take note of. So now we'll go into some examples of encroachments. So this first picture is showing a wire that was cut and dumped on the property. This is common with Eversource. When they take down old wires, they'll cut it and just leave it there, mainly on undeveloped land. So if you do see that, let me know. I will get a hold of Eversource and ask them to clean it up. The second photo is showing an old hunt stand up in a tree. So if you see old lumber nailed to the trees, make a note of that. We'll go and take it down. Just a heads up, BCT does not allow hunting on our properties. So if you see any evidence of hunting, tree stands, make sure you're looking up when you're monitoring. Mark that down as well. We have no hunt signs that we will go out and put up. Another common one is when our property abuts people's backyards. That's a common dump site for trash, old debris, discarded brush. Making note of that and the address that it's behind. This corner one, this is a tent that was found on our property. So we have had a couple instances of squatters. If you see a tent or squatter situation, please do not approach. Leave the property and let me know immediately. This tent was abandoned on our property, so we just went out and cleaned it up. But please do not enter into any situation that makes you feel uncomfortable or confrontational. This is another common one. People like to dump their old Christmas trees on our properties. I find this picture kind of funny because they clearly just threw it on top of a bunch of old vines, so it looks like it's just floating there. This last one is an example of an invasive species spreading onto our property. This is English ivy. This is definitely something to take note of, especially in the starting stages like this is doing. So I found this vine creeping into one of our fields. This is a perfect time to eradicate it, to pull it now before it gets out of hand. So if you see something like this, if it has covered the whole property, make a note. If it's starting to, make a note. We'll determine if that's something that we can get rid of. When talking about invasive species and IDing plants in the field, there's a couple apps I've found to be super helpful. Seek is one. It is free. What you have to do is you hold the camera up to a plant and then wait for the app to ID it. It will tell you if the plant is native, introduced, or invasive. I will say that Seek is not always accurate, but I found that it is pretty darn accurate for invasive species because they're pretty prominent and unique. A better app to use is Picture This, although it does require a subscription of $30 a year. I find it helpful. I find it worth it. What you do is you take a photo of the plant and the app will ID it. It will give you all the information you could possibly know about the plant. It will tell you where the plant is indigenous, and I found it to be very accurate. Both of these apps and all ID apps are not going to be 100% accurate. There's a lot of plants that look very similar. A lot of leaves look the same, so take this with a grain of salt. I would download Seek for the field to make sure that we're making a note of those invasive plants that we find. A couple helpful invasive ID guides are the Mass Audubon Invasive Plants in Massachusetts guide. There's a link to that right here. I also provided the official invasive plant list of Massachusetts, which can be found right here. I found that the Mass Audubon one is super helpful. It gives pictures and goes into detail about the common invasives that you might find. So recommend taking a look at that when you have the chance. Now I'll go into some common invasives to look out for in the field. These are ones that I've found are very common on our sites, pretty easy to ID, especially in the winter when the leaves are down. So English ivy, as pictured right here, it's a creeping vine. It's very unique and prominent. I'm sure all of you know what this plant looks like. It's absolutely everywhere. Bittersweet is another common invasive. This is a common site, this bottom photo. I'm sure you've seen it before. This plant grows as a thick woody vine that will strangle and ensnare trees. I'm sure you've also seen these bright red and orange berries is another indicator of this plant. It has oval-shaped bright green leaves, and it will kill trees by wrapping around them and making them top-heavy. Please make a note if you see extreme bittersweet on your properties. Chinese wisteria is similar to bittersweet, also grows as a woody vine and can strangle trees. Unlike bittersweet, it has long tear-shaped leaves. In this top photo, you can see our intern from this past summer working to release some trees from the wisteria's grasp. This plant completely took over this property, so another invasive to keep an eye out for. Multiflora rose is another common one throughout town. It produces white and pink flowers and has vibrant olive green leaves that are year-round, so easy to spot in the winter time. The leaves are serrated as shown in the photo, and it has dense thorns, which unfortunately help this plant form thickets that crowd out native species. Garlic mustard has tiny white flowers in the summertime, like this top photo. It will take over forest understories, especially roadsides, disturbed sites. The leaves are this kidney shape with scalloped edges. This plant grows in mounds and really spreads rapidly. It won't look like this in the winter time like this top photo. You'll mainly see it as more of a low ground cover, but I've seen throughout the winter that it still has this prominent leaf, so keep an eye out for a low shrubby plant that looks like this. Spotted knapweed, our final one that we're going to cover. This plant, I'm sure you've seen all over the place as well. It's super common along roadsides. It has purple pinkish flowers and spreads rapidly with its many seeds. It will take over roadsides and disturb sites and choke out native plants. The stem typically is hairy and scraggly. It has spotted buds on the end. In the wintertime, this is what it's going to look like. It will still kind of have those spotted buds and still be looking pretty scraggly, so keep an eye out. When out monitoring, we do ask that you please do not construct new trails, post new signs, or introduce new plants. We are going to allow our monitors to put up their own little BCT placards if they see it necessary, although we're not just going to plaster our properties with signage. That's not what we want at all. So if you find that a sign here or there would be helpful to navigate the boundary, please come to me and I will give you signs to nail up on the tree. When you do nail a sign up on a tree, these placards are only like, hey, big. You're going to put 4 nails in it. And when you do pound those nails in, leave about a ½ inch to an inch of space between the nail head and the tree. This will help when the tree is growing, that it will push that sign out and not just swallow up the sign. Also, please do not remove invasive species. If you do see little clumps of like garlic mustard or knapweed that are super easy to pull on the spot, feel free. Although please dispose of those off the property if you are going to pull them. If it's big job, just make note of it. We'll come out with our work crew and remove it properly. Please also don't use power tools, pesticides, or herbicides on our properties. Just liability, safety reasons. We try to really stay away from herbicide, pesticide use. Don't enter into confrontational situations. A lot of people will come out of their homes to go check out why you're on the undeveloped property next door. I always say kill them with kindness. Usually they're just curious. I encourage you, please go up and talk to them, explain why you're there. We have little neighborhood pamphlet cards that you guys will have with you that you can give to that neighbor to provide a little bit more information about BCT. If someone's not being very friendly, if they're being very confrontational, just be nice, take a step back, leave it alone, write it down, let us know so that we can make a note of that. And please don't traverse anywhere that makes you feel uncomfortable. You guys are volunteers. I don't want anyone having broken ankles, scratches, anything like that. And if you're not comfortable going somewhere, there's no requirement. You're not forced to do anything. You're here as a volunteer. So before you go out, here's some suggested items to bring. So of course, your monitoring folder that I've been talking about, it's going to look like this red one right here. Please take very good care of these. We do have most of the information digitized, and it's not the only copy floating around, but please take care of them. These field folders are made to get in the field. You can write on the maps if needed. Bring a blank monitoring report with you, so that's going to look like this. We do have these available as a fillable PDF, so if you want to download that on your phone, that's an option too, and then you're going to have to save that, and then you can email it to me. Some monitors choose to just make some field notes and then fill out the report form when they get home. That's another option. You're going to have a little stack of neighbor pamphlets with you that I will give when you pick up your folders. So if you do have neighbors come up to you and ask about BCT, please give them one of these. It will help us a lot in getting our message out. Recommend a pen and pencil for notes, or even a little notebook if that's your thing. Your cell phone, of course. I always find it handy to have a trash bag and gloves on me if I do find that small scale litter to pick up. I also carry clippers with me for light pruning. We're not going to be blazing our own trails on our properties, but if you need to cut back some briar or some vines to make your way through, feel free to do that. Field guides are also really helpful. A lot of our volunteers like to bring like little invasive books or native plant guides. We have a couple birders, so if you want to bring your bird guides out there, this is meant to be fun. We want you guys to enjoy yourselves. Bring water, of course. Some people like to have a compass on them. If you're in areas with no cell service, sometimes compass is helpful. And of course, please wear at least one BCT piece of gear. When you become a monitor, you'll get a BCT cap. So that will be your identifier as you are a volunteer at Brewster Conservation Trust. We also have orange vests as shown in this photo. So that's your fluorescent orange. Please wear those if you have them when you're out in the field. It makes our presence known. We don't want to be some sketchy person walking throughout the woods next door to someone's house. Good to have that visibility. If you don't have a vest, please wear like fluorescent or bright clothing just so that we can identify ourselves. So now I'm going to go into more detail about the actual property monitoring report. This is available on our website, and here's a link to that. You can find it on the volunteer page. You can find this fillable version. I also have a printable version. I have a lot of copies here at the stewardship office, so don't feel the need that you have to print this out on your own. You can come pick up a copy here. Like I said, you can also fill it out online, save it to your computer, and email it to me as a PDF. Either are great with me. I'm going to need to print one out eventually for the physical property binder, and I'm also going to need a digital version to save to the drive. So either or is great. The volunteer page also has some other helpful tools. It will have those invasive ID links. It'll have some other helpful tools like the BCT map, and then the monitoring report and this training. You will need a password to get onto the volunteer page of the website. That's located right here. I will also send it out in an email to our land monitors. So that's Conserve Brewster 2021 with the C and the B capitalized. So going into a little more detail about what's on the monitoring report, please do your best to fill out all sections of the report. Even if the property is looking really good, still fill out the entire report as best you can. So you're going to label the property, the date of the visit, your name, the property location. If you have a neighbor come out and talk to you, try and grab their name, their address, their phone, and that way we can have that on file if needed. Check off the area that you examined. Like I said, not all properties can be walked entirely, so if you were just able to get to the roadside, check that off. If you only did the trail that went through the property, check that one off. Are there adequate boundary markers? Is the entire property surrounded by a neighborhood? Is it super easy to walk, or do we need to get out there and do a boundary marking? Please let us know. Also, you can check off the stewardship issues that you observed, things like encroachment, dumping, if you see ATV use. If there's anything not listed here, feel free to write it in the other section. Also, please take photos. I highly recommend you take photos of anything either interesting you find, especially encroachments that you find. What I like to do is, if I take, for example, like 5 photos, I'll label those as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on one of the maps in your property folder, you can write 1 wherever you took that photo number 1, photo number 2. You can mark 2 wherever you did photo number 2. And then I like to draw a little arrow, if you want to get fancy, of the direction you were facing when you took the photo. And please provide a little description so I know what I'm looking at when you send these photos to me. And I will say the best way to send these is on a PDF. My email can only take usually like 2 or 3 photos in an email. So if you print them out, that's great. The back of the sheet has some other questions that you're going to have to write. So describing the issues that you observed and marking it on the maps that are in your folder. Listing any wildlife or habitat observations. Those are always fun to read. And any recommendations for immediate action. So if you see like any really severe encroachments or things that you think of should be taken care of immediately, put that there. And then recommendations for future projects. If you think that's a great location, for example, a new walking trail, feel free to write that down here. Or if you think that would be a great place for another big BCT green sign, also put that there. And lastly, please share anything that you feel would make this property special. So there's going to be a lot of, like I said, really cool features to these properties. I personally like to take pictures of really big beech trees that I find. Those are always fun to read as well. And please put your total time spent monitoring and completing this report at the bottom so I can record our volunteer hours and then sign at the bottom. These reports are super helpful. If we have encroachment issues that require legal action, for example, these are critical to look back on and to have proof that we were out on these properties and monitored them. And that's what the signature is for, to make this a little more official.
Photos are important to include when submitting your monitoring reports to document features and encroachments at the time of monitoring. They also help me understand your reports better and give me a better visual of what you guys are writing about. Photos can be submitted via email or printed out with descriptions and locations. If you have the extra time, and what really helps me out is if you follow the example above and mark out each rough photo location on a map and put the map and all the photos in a single document with descriptions. This way I have a better idea of where each photo is taken and can navigate out to the site better when conducting follow-ups. Of course, this is an extra step and it's not required when submitting photos, but it definitely helps me when looking over your monitoring reports.
So a lot of people are curious about what happens to each report once they submit it to me. So what I do is I save each report to our server, I file it in the physical property binder, and then any issues that you guys state, they're scaled and prioritized, and I will respond to them accordingly. I will do my best to update you guys on the status of each issue. Although it may not be immediately, I may not be able to get to the encroachment immediately, but I am going to be doing the very best I can. Here's a little chart that I like to use to determine what kind of action needs to be taken and what priority each encroachment is. So like lower priorities, like a little bit of litter, a little bit of minor yard debris, we'll go clean that up ourselves. We might post a sign up saying no dumping, and we'll continue to monitor it. Medium priority, things like extensive yard dumping, hunting, a little bit of vandalism. Usually I'll write a letter to the neighbors, or we'll have a boundary crew session to go mark those boundaries to make sure that it's on our property, and then write a letter if it is. High priorities are things like clearing, building, people cutting down trees on our properties without our permission. This is when we might need a professional survey, or we'll go out and survey and take maybe legal action if needed.
I want to go into a little more detail about where we are at with all of our encroachments. As of the end of last monitoring season, we had 50 recorded encroachments come back, and that 50 means that 50 properties came back with encroachments on them. So that means that one property could have multiple encroachments, so there could be even more than 50 situations that I have to handle. 14 of those properties came back as high priority, 23 properties were medium priority, and 10 were low. Our strategic plan that we established this past year, which will span from 2025 to 2030, states that we are going to strive to have 5 volunteer boundary markings per year, 2 professional boundary markings per year. We are going to aim to tackle 2 to 3 high priority encroachments per year, and we are hoping to tackle 5 to 6 medium encroachments per year. And I am hoping to tackle all low priority encroachments within 2 months of being notified. Of course, there is a backlog of all these low priority encroachments that I'll be slowly working towards. This is our goal and our current capacity. Like I said, I am one person. We will have an AmeriCorps member coming on that'll help handle some of these low priority ones, but it's going to take me time. And just to reiterate, please report on the status of any prior reported encroachments that you find in your monitoring folders, even if they haven't been handled by staff yet. The most up-to-date information for each encroachment is important to track and still helps me. So I appreciate your guys' patience. Bear with me. Please still report on the most updated information.
So now I'll talk a little bit about how to pick up and return your monitoring folders and or property binders. So you're going to be checking out and returning them to the Hay Conservation Center Stewardship Office. That's where I'm sitting right now. Please coordinate with me via my email or the office number to come pick up your monitoring folder or binder. If I am not here, I can always put it on the table. Feel free to come into the office and pick it up. I just ask that you please sign it out using the form that will be located in the stewardship office. All folders and binders must be returned to Hay Conservation Center after you are done monitoring. Please return them within like a week or so after you're done monitoring. This will help me be able to file it in a timely manner and look at any encroachments that need immediate action. The best time to monitor is during our winter and fall time and early spring. This is when all the leaves are down. It's going to be easiest to walk the boundaries and interior. So I highly suggest monitoring sometime throughout November to March. I do understand that a lot of you guys are part-timers in Brewster. Just let me know and monitor when you can, when you get back. And know before you go, make sure that before you get out into the field, you're reviewing an online map of your property, reviewing any notes that are in your property folder. Each folder is going to have a sheet in the very front of notes special to each property, so make sure you review those notes. A lot of these properties will not have designated parking because they're undeveloped lots, so making sure you're scouting out beforehand where's the best spot to park if there's a nearby parking lot or better street parking further down the road. I also have little parking cards that say you're monitoring for BCT, that's why this car is parked here, that you can put in your dash. If you would like one of those, let me know when you come pick up your binder. I'm more than happy to give you one to put in your car. Look for any notes of concern as well. Sometimes People have had issues with neighbors in the past that they might put down. Good to know those things before you go out. This picture I like to put on this slide. So one of our monitors found a terrapin nest on this property right here. So they marked where they found that turtle. So now every time the monitor for this property goes back, they'll go and check that spot to see if there's turtle activity in that area. And just another note, in your folders will also be, in addition to the notes in the very front, it will have maps. It will also have the 2 latest monitoring reports. So I recommend looking at those as well before you go out into the field for any notes. And I want to mention hunting. So like I talked about earlier, those orange vests are a must. If you don't have an orange vest, neon clothing, making sure we're staying safe out there. While we don't allow hunting on BCT land, it's always a possibility. We want to be safe out there. And hunting season does run from October to February, so of course during monitoring season. Safety first, so if you're going out by yourself, be super sure to tell someone where you're going, what time you plan on being back, just so we're being safe, or bring a friend with you. It's always fun to monitor with a partner. If your friend does go out and monitor with you, I ask that they please fill out one of our volunteer forms, but they're more than welcome to go out with you. Just write their name down on the monitoring report. And speaking of partners, we have our mentor and partner program. So if you are a new monitor this year, I'm going to pair you up with a mentor. This mentor will be an experienced land monitor, and they'll be there to answer any questions you have. They can go out with you on your first time monitoring, and you guys can do it together. Mentors, you guys will assist the new monitors in their first time monitoring. Feel free to connect with each other. I'll provide your guys' emails. Find a good day to go out together into the field. Feel free to ask any questions if you have them. I highly encourage monitoring with a buddy. If you have a friend in mind or a partner that you would like to go out with, feel free. We love that. If you would like me to partner you up with someone, let me know and I will pair you up. It's kind of fun to tag team 2 properties. So your partner will go out with you to monitor your property. You'll go out with them to monitor their property. So what is next? So if you have not already, please complete a volunteer registration form if you're a new volunteer, and you can sign up for your properties. So the in-person training had the opportunity to pass around a sign-up sheet with our properties that still need monitors. I will provide that in the email I'm going to send you guys to sign up for properties. Feel free to reach out to me now to check out your property folder. In the next few weeks, like I said, I will send an email out with an updated list of all monitors and their assigned properties, as well as the mentor partner list. And feel free to reach out with any other questions as well. I want to conclude this presentation by saying thank you. We could not do this without you guys. Thank you so much for signing up to be a monitor. Thank you for volunteering with Brewster Conservation Trust. I am one person. I cannot do this work by myself. I really rely on you guys to help out and be my eyes on the ground. If you're interested in other BCT stewardship volunteer opportunities or have any other questions, please email me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. Thanks, guys.